Welcome to Crossing the Threshold, a weekly radio broadcast about transforming life's hardest moments into major personal breakthroughs. I am your host, Garrett Hamlin. Today, our guest is Raelynn Rosas, one of the most inspiring people I know. Welcome, Raelynn.
Hi, good to be here.
Raelynn has an incredible story of tragedy and God's grace. But before we get to those details, first we want to set the scene and talk about her life before the tragedy, then hear what Raelynn has been through, and finally, we will talk about how God is using this. So Raelynn, let's start out before this happened, before you had any idea what was to come. What was life like? What were you doing then?
It was pretty cool. I want to say, so when I was 16, I gave my life to Jesus, and it totally transformed my whole life and got me to like a wonderful life. And so at the time, when I was diagnosed, it was fast forward 2022. So before that, 2020, as we all knew, it was a crazy year. But I had just given birth to my fourth child, Rosie. And 2020 was like, COVID, all that, but I had just given birth then. And it was crazy. It was great. Married with my husband, obviously, 4 kids. And I was selling real estate. 2020, up until that point, was my biggest year selling with a newborn. It just kind of hit the whole, world by storm, but the real estate really was crazy, Mm-hmm. And 2021, also great year of real estate. So my life was normal, busy. I was homeschooling my kids. I was active in my church. We were remodeling my dream house. So it's like there was a lot going on before this, but just normal, I'm a very high capacity person. I thought this is normal life, selling a bunch of houses, being a wife, a mom, sports, all that kind of thing. So that was it, living the dream.
Wow, that is a lot to have going on at once. It's just 4 kids.
Yeah.
And you put on top of that, you're working and remodeling the house. Mm-hmm. Sports, tell me more about that.
Oh, like kids sports. My kids are in soccer, basketball, all that kind of
So
things.
you're a taxi service.
Yes. I joke like we have our 9 to 5, and then I have my 5 to 9, taxi and food and all that, support the kids. So, yeah.
And you're already a person of faith, a woman of God at that point. Mm-hmm. So what did you guys do for fun? Did you get any break from that all before you knew anything was wrong?
I don't know, break. I mean, we're really active. We have a lot of friends and stuff like that. So like our life is just full, it's full of really good things. So I don't, we'll take vacations here and there, but I don't, like at that time, I don't think a break ever crossed my mind. It just had I was determined, ready to take on the world, and that was it.
No breaks. How about faith? What did your faith look like at that point before anything happened?
It was strong, like I said, I got saved when I was 16, and my life was completely different. I was going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. So
what does that mean?
That means that I was crazy. I was in California. I was really early on. I got into like drinking, partying, just looking for love in all the wrong places, just different relationships, trying to fit in. And I would say that I was a different person for everyone that I met. So I was also an athlete. So when I was with my, friends in that spot, I was there. When I was at school, my teachers, I was, the good student. But then after school, I would hang out with like the gang members and getting into that. I was a very angry, hurting person at that time in my life. And I was young, and now I think about it, I have a almost 15-year-old, and like to think how his life is so different than mine. And I kind of joked the other day. I was like, well, he doesn't have anything to prove. Like, he's stable, he's loved, he's like, he plays sports just for fun. He doesn't like have to prove anything, and it's just kind of crazy. It's a crazy life to think that I was so different.
Wow.
Such a blessing for sure that my kids are growing up in a Christian home. We're not perfect, but me and my husband love each other, and we just really try to live the life of faith so that our kids will see that, they're active in church and stuff like that, but your life is going to be the loudest sermon that they hear. So we try.
I hear that you and your life have come a long way since those days. But
Yeah,
back then, and you're not sure who you are, you're being a different person everywhere you go.
Yeah.
We can relate.
Yeah.
So, when did you first know that medically there might be something wrong?
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm honest, I am kind of like, oh, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. Oh, But like the first kind of signs that something was kind of wrong was a little bit after I had my baby in 2020. So I would just have these like weird, like almost like involuntary muscle movements. Like my hand would just like switch, and like I would take a picture, and I would like, why does my hand always look like this? And like, why was it like, so I think my mom had noticed it, like, you need to get that checked out. But at that time, it wasn't too bad.
And I see you're demonstrating that with your right
Yeah,
hand. It was
yeah.
only on one side?
Yeah, it was always my right side. And so it was just kind of weird, and whatever, like I don't have time for this. And so fast forward to 2022, my body made me have time for it. I started having a lot of symptoms that was really scary. So there was a couple months where it wouldn't happen all the time, but I would have like slurred speech, like out of nowhere. A lot of involuntary muscle movements, and just didn't feel good. I felt almost like passing out. It was like a really weird feeling to explain. It was like my brain, it would just feel like overwhelming. I just was like, I can't focus, and like, what is going on? Like, something's wrong. I thought maybe I was like, something's really wrong. Like, maybe my blood pressure is high, low, something, sugar high, low. Like, it was something really apparent. But when I went to the doctor, it was funny. I went to like a primary physician, and she's like, I'm like, oh, just this. And she's like, and then, oh, this little thing here and this. And she like stops. How long has this been going on? I'm like, I don't know, maybe a couple months. A couple months? You're just coming in? And she's like, something is really wrong here. And I was like, and she's like, we're going to find out. So that was good. But I did a bunch of panels, like blood panels. She's like, I'm going to order everything, CT scan. And I was completely healthy.
Wow. So the blood tests, everything said it's fine, but clearly you were having these episodes. And then how long would this last, that things were confused, fuzzy?
Kind of like just a couple minutes, maybe no longer than 10 minutes. I didn't know what was happening. It just was like, is it going to like before it was like here and there, and then it started happening every day.
What does that feel like? Was that scary? How were you?
At that time, it was really frustrating because I'm like, I kind of felt like I was going crazy because on paper, I look fine. I was healthy. She's like, on paper, everything looks fine, but obviously it's not. And so you need to have the MRI and all that things done. And it was just really frustrating because I literally thought I was going crazy. I was like, what is happening? Like, I feel like I'm almost on drugs or something that's like controlling my mind and my body. I'm like, I would kind of be like, stop being dramatic. Talk right. Talk normally, because I was like, but it was like slow and slurred. I'm like, that is not good. And if you go on Google, they'll like go to the hospital right away. And I'm like,
yeah. And it must have been frustrating that you feel this going on and you say, hey, something's wrong, but people look at you and everything looks fine. You're not bleeding. Your arm's not broken.
Yeah, that's true. And it wouldn't happen all the time. Like, I would be okay. But then all of a sudden, I would get these almost like episodes is what I would like say, and I wasn't like, you would think of like a seizure or something, but I wouldn't be like seized, nothing like that. But you're just thinking like, what can this be? Like, this is so weird. So.
And so our listeners understand. It sounds like you have an accent, but you don't.
Yes,
right now,
I don't.
Right?
Yeah.
This is all. This is all from
It's still all new.
this situation. Oh gosh. So, were these episodes happening more and more frequently?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then there's a period about a month that it didn't happen at all. And it was fine. I thought I got healed because I believe in the Bible that like healing is real. Like the Bible says that by his stripes we are healed. And I go to a church that believes in healing. And I had, like my pastor has laid hands on me and said like, yeah, this is weird. This isn't normal. Like, let's pray for you. And I believe like, yeah, that's going to happen, And so I was like, oh, maybe I just got healed. Whatever it was, it's gone. And then I was homeschooling my kids, and I woke up that day and I felt just weird, off. And so I'm reading a book to my kids, and like the words are like fuzzy and like blurry and kind of like, what is happening? And I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm like, and I start slurring. And mind you, it hadn't been happening for like a month. I'm like, what? Okay, what's going on? And I'm just like, I just don't feel weird. And I don't know why I did this, but I pulled out my phone and I recorded. And I really don't remember this. And I smiled, and my right side drooped. And so
Wow.
I was like, it freaked me out. I like went into a panic, and I called the ambulance because my doctor, the primary, she was really good. Like, something's wrong, but she really couldn't do anything for me. And she told me, if you ever have like the drooping on one side, call the ambulance right away. So I'm like, yeah, 4 kids at home.
Yeah.
At that time, a 2-year-old. So it'd be like 2, 4, 6. No, sorry. That was wrong. 2, 7, 9, and 11.
Wow.
Yeah, and so...
let me interrupt you
Yeah,
at
go
that
ahead.
point. So much responsibility going on. And you were having this problem, and it's really just an annoyance. You don't
Yeah.
take it too seriously. And you saw your pastor. We do have a God who heals. Jehovah
Yes.
Rapha is one of his names. And your pastor lays on hands and prays for your healing. Were you praying for your healing in that time as well?
Yeah, I kind of like you said, I wasn't really taking it that serious. I'm like, my whole attitude was like, I don't have time for this. Like, it moves on, whatever. And so I kind of learned to live with it. I did pray for it. I was praying for it, but probably not as much as I should have been, to be honest. But yeah, so that happened, and the one time too, the little episode happened in front of my friends, and they're like, what's going on? And I just remember, I was like, I don't know what's wrong, and I just started crying. And I'm not really, I'm soft, but I'm not a super crier. I'm a strong person. I say that out of quotation marks. And I just started crying. And it wasn't normal for me, and my friend's hugging me, and her husband was like, Ray, can I pray for you? I'm like, yeah, nodding yes. And he just like lays hands on me and like praying, rebuking everything, and I was like, and it did. It helped. It went away. Like, I started talking normally. So I was like, God really helped me along the way. And I don't want to give everything away, but I really think in those moments, he really, now that I know what was actually happening in my brain, like he kind of like held it back. The disease, it was almost like I shouldn't have been functioning like I was.
That's very interesting.
Because funny thing is, like, I found out the diagnosis with the MRI, but you don't know how bad it is until you get an angiogram. I didn't have my first angiogram until the day before I had surgery.
Oh my!
So,
we'll come back to
yeah,
that. We'll come back to the
circle back,
medical
because
side.
I'm like, yeah, because that
But
is, yeah.
I am still just fascinated
Yeah.
with this 1 month that it wasn't a problem. So you're probably at that point thinking, "Hey, this is gone. That's
I'm
good.
good,
Get
yeah.
on with my life." You know,
Yeah.
it's thinking it's easy times ahead. But then it's amazing it happens and you have the clarity. Something made you take that picture
Yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah.
And you see that you're drooping on your face is drooping on one side, and you know it's serious. Did you
Yes.
call an ambulance
Yes,
at that
I
point?
called 911 and I said, I think I'm having a stroke. And I started slurring.
Yeah.
And where we lived, the fire department was like half a mile. So they came immediately. And I'm like, I have my kids and I'm like, just go. Like, we had a multi-level. So I'm like sitting. I opened the door. I'm like sitting like, calm down. Because I'm hysterical at this point. I'm like, I'm going to.
Sure. Yeah. It's okay. Take your time. That's a shocking place to be. Did they get you down the stairs and to the ambulance?
No, I got myself like just situated. I was functioning, but I was like just so scared of my kids. Like, are they gonna find me? Are they gonna find me like passed out and like unresponsive? Like, what is that gonna do to them? And so I was okay. So I like tried to calm myself down. I told him like, you guys like just stay over there and like upstairs. Like, it's gonna be okay. They're like watching. It's kind of funny now. Like, but the firefighters came, did all this. He's like, all right, just chaos. So like blood pressure, like like everything that they do, you know. And so I was okay. And again, they're like, we can't see anything wrong with you. But they're like, and I said, I just pulled out my phone. I was like, I've recorded this. So I showed the people, the firefighter. Because at that time, I was like emotional, but they're like, nothing's wrong with you. Like, it's crazy. And so I was like, wait, I have this video. So I showed it to them. And they're like, oh, no. You have to go. And at that time, I called a friend to come and get my watch my kids, and like I called my husband, and he was at work, and so I'm hysterical. He calls me, and then the waterworks come again.
Yeah.
He's like, and the firefighter's like, give me your phone, you know, talks to him and says, and just says, tells him what's going on, and then hangs up and says, your husband says to put you in the ambulance now. And I'm like, because I was like, I think I'm fine now.
At that moment, it blows my mind. At that moment, you're literally, it's no exaggeration, you're on the edge of death. That could have gone just a little bit worse, and you would have been gone. And you're not worried about yourself. You're worried about your kids.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, you go to the hospital. When did you finally, what happened next? When did you finally get someone to tell you authoritatively what's going on?
So I went to the neurologist, and you guys are going to laugh at this. So went to the hospital, run everything. You're fine. You're healthy. Went to the neurologist, and he looked through my paperwork and said, you're probably just stressed.
Oh, gosh. Let me interrupt your story right there. What was God telling you through all of this?
Like,
were you praying?
Yeah, I was praying, and a lot of people were praying for me. Like, we need to figure out what this is. Like, because the CT scan was fine, but a CT scan doesn't show a lot, you know. My blood work was fine, blood pressure was fine, and I look healthy. I look fine, I'm young. And it's funny, the neurologist said, yeah, you're probably just stressed. I'm like, no, I like thrive off stress. This is not stress. And I said, can you just give me like an MRI, because my previous doctor, you know, she said, you know, like I want to just give you an MRI right away, but we have to take these, like, whatever, I didn't know that really. I was like, what do you mean? But she put that in my head, like, we can't say anything on a CT, because I had no idea. And she was like, so I said, well, can I get an MRI, or something? He was like, well, yeah, we can run tests. There's more tests, but how far do you really want to go with this? And I was like, well, just an MRI, I guess.
It doesn't sound like he's taking you seriously.
Yeah. Mm-mm. So, a matter of fact, I got the MRI, and I was like, well, God's just going to have to heal me because they don't know what's going on. And so I was like, well, whatever. And so I got the MRI. I didn't even, because this is the doctor in Phoenix. And so I was like, can you just do telemed? Because I don't want to go back and be like, oh, nothing's wrong with you. They're like, well, only the nurse practitioner does that. Okay, I'll meet with her. So I got a call from her. It wasn't even telemed. It was just a phone call because their iPads weren't charged.
Oh my.
I got the real winner on that one. But anyway, she goes, yeah, we're seeing some things here. I'm at a Starbucks with my kids because I'm just waiting. Like, I'm just going to hear, you're fine. And she told me, oh, we're seeing signs of this is called moya moya. And she just keeps talking. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, we don't know yet. We need to get more imaging. We need to have your head and your neck MRI'd and see what's going on. But they kind of were like, we see this, but we're not sure, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? So fast forward, I get the head and the neck still telemed because I'm like, these guys are a joke. And they say, like, yeah, have you, and then she said, yeah, it's definitely moya moya, and have you looked it up at all? And I was like, no, because you weren't even sure if it was that. And they're like, don't doctors usually say don't Google it? And they're like, did you Google this?
Did you Google that?
And I'm like,
Moya
what?
moya?
And so I think they Googled it.
Oh my.
I swear. And so basically, she's like, I was like, well, what do I do? She kind of explained it to me. And then she said, well, there is a surgery, but, like, not everyone it's not for everyone, this and that, and just, like, kind of, like, no hope. And I told her, I was like, and I actually think I told her, I don't have time for this.
Wait. They said there's no hope?
Basically, they said there is a surgery, but it's not for everyone, and just kind of hemming hawing, like, and I said, so what do I do? Just live with it until I don't? And she's like, yeah, basically, like, we can have a panel, we can get, like a nurse, like a vascular surgeon in, and we can talk. I'm not, no, like, this is, no, I, like, was like, no, I'm not doing this. And I was like, well, thank you very much, and I hung up.
Raelynn, where was your heart when you heard that news?
I was
what a confusing call.
Yeah.
They say it's moya moya. Had you ever heard of that before?
No, nobody has it.
And they're telling you it's hopeless. There's a surgery, but yeah.
Yeah, like,
about
basically live your life.
Where did your heart go?
I was
when
like,
you heard that. What was the rest of that day
I
like?
think part of me was a little bit like, you're kind of like like, what is happening? These people don't know what they're talking about. And then I'm like, it just was confusing. And I kind of was like put on a little bit of a front, like, kind of like, oh, whatever, I don't have time for this. And and then I called my husband, and I kind of broke down, of course, and he's like, we're gonna get through this, and, like, but it just is really, like, hopeless. And I just I called one of my friends, it's like a praying warrior. She was like, I'm praying that, like, you're gonna get this, and, like, it's gonna be okay, and they're gonna be like, oh, it's gone, and we're like, yes, of course.
What were you praying for?
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get this this MRI, and they're gonna be like, oh, what were we talking about? It's gone. And then I was even picturing the MRI before and the MRI after, and like it's gonna be like that's gonna be my testimony that God healed me from this. Like it was gone, and but it wasn't, and so I talked to my friend, and I was like, oh, well, I kind of was like, it's still there, and then it's like all the facade is like left. I cried, and I think it was pretty shocking for, like now I realize it was shocking for my friends around me, you know, and I was like, they're really praying for me. So, the only really good thing that they told me was take a baby aspirin because it will help your blood flow. So,
Great.
from that MRI,
That fixes everything.
Yeah. So from that MRI, I started taking baby aspirin and just a lot of water, like you know. And then it would be weird because, like I said, was a very high capacity person, and I would rest, but not really, and I would just have these like things that my body was like laid, like the only way I can explain it, like laid it down right now. And so I would be like, oh, I just like lay down and just be okay, and then I'd be fine. And so it's like I would have that like all the time though, like and I would just say I'm just tired, but I wasn't tired. It was like it wasn't tired like I need to sleep. It would just be like I need to rest.
Yeah.
It's weird.
How did you get from that condition? They've got, this, they told you moya moya, but you can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. You did have surgery. Mm-hmm. How did you decide to do that? How did that go?
Yeah, so it's like, if you don't have a pastor, get one, because they will save your life. We went to our pastor like right after we had it, and I said, look, we had bad news. He's like, what is it? I start crying. And then my husband's like, should I? And he starts telling him, and then I'm like, they say I have this, and there's no hope, and they think there's a surgery, but they say maybe I'm not a candidate. And he's like, well, you know what? He's like, when you have bad news, get a second opinion. And he said, God has always provided in anywhere, because my pastor has been everywhere, like overseas, like pastoring for years and all that. And he's like, every place that we went to, God provided a doctor, provided something for us. And so, like, God's going to help you. And so he's like, get a second opinion, and you're going to be okay. Let's pray, of course, you know. And so through that, I happened to get a second opinion from Barrow, and it just happens to be like the best brain place to get surgery, you know, brain place. That's so funny. And the doctor at that time, I was just doing my Google. I like added some Facebook groups to kind of understand what this was, because it is a rare condition. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, so go to Barrow. The second opinion, they said, yes, we do think that this is moya. We agree with that. But I got to talk with the surgeon that would eventually do my surgery. And he explained it. Like, he was like, yeah, we just have to do this, get a little surgery, and you'll be fine. He's like, as it gets longer, like, it will actually get stronger, like the vessels. And so I was like, whoa. And so happened to be too, like, he's the best in Arizona and one of the best in the country for this specific surgery. He's like a rock star. Everyone at the hospital was like, oh, you have that doctor? Oh, you're fine. You're in good hands. You'll be okay.
Barrow Neurological Institute has rock stars.
Yeah.
I've been there myself. Mm-hmm. So we're running short on time.
Oh,
I want
man.
to ask you, come down to the most important thing. Where are you now? Mm-hmm. Is this behind you? Mm. And what is God telling you now, looking back at all of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had the surgery, and right, it was great. It was a success. So I have the blood flow to my brain because that's what was happening. Was like the blood flow was restricted, and when I didn't know how bad it was, well, like I said earlier, when we had it, they're like, oh, it's bad on your left side, not so bad on your right. Then that's it. Then after the surgery, like, cause that was the day before. Then the next day surgery, and then my husband was like, how bad was it? They're like, your carotid artery was completely shut.
Wow. That's like somebody
Yeah.
was strangling you.
Yeah. So I kind of joked the day before. I said, "Oh, so my brain." He's like, "Your brain is doing a lot of things to compensate." And I said, "Oh, did it look like a circus up there?" He's like, "Yeah, that's a good way to put it." So my body was like having all these creative ways to put blood into my brain because the main one was not. It was completely shut. So it's like rerouting, and so it was keeping me alive. So I didn't have a stroke. And so anyways, after the surgery, it was fine, but I did have a brain bleed in my speech center. So I had to completely learn how to talk again.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Which
that's...
obviously you have.
Yeah, so I have. That part, it was... The whole process is brain surgery. It should have been scary, but it wasn't. I felt just peace. I was like, I'm going to be okay. Even when I woke up, a couple hours after I woke up, they asked me my name, and I was like, and in my head, I was like, it needs, like, speak, like, like, say it, and I couldn't. And then they figured out that I had a brain bleed, and the surgery was fine though, but this happens.
Wow.
My brain wasn't used to getting that much blood, so it bled, and I had to relearn how to talk, and that was frustrating. And that is the main reason, honestly, why I think I still talk about it today, because it comes up,
I have two questions for you still. How has God changed you through this?
Yeah. So I think, honestly, God is always in control. He's not shocked by everything that happens, and I just feel like at the end of the day, he really held me in his hand. My goodness. And so it's not anything that I did. I just feel like God really preserved me, my family. We had a great support system, and people really helped us along the way, but he's changed me to be more grateful. When I first found out, I said, looking at my life, how it's going and how it is now, I said, if this is all I get, then it's more than I deserve, because I don't deserve like the life that God has given me. I don't deserve his forgiveness. Like, that is grace. And the fact that he gave me my speaks back in record time, and that he has taken the fear of the future and everything, like, I just want to do his will, That's all I want. And if I have to have an accent to help somebody else go on, then hey, it's a pretty cool accent, and I have a pretty massive, cool scar to show for it.
I love how you see that. Raelynn, you are doing God's work. Thank you for sharing. What you share here, I know, inspires others. Life is difficult. Medical conditions are difficult.
Yeah.
You are an inspiration to others. Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you, Garrett.